Welcome to another episode of Talk Legal to Me. We're coming to you from PimCon Day 2 in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we have the GOAT herself, Jenn Gore, the founder of Atlanta Personal Injury Law Group. This is going to be a deep dive into the mindset that Jenn takes to grow her firm and the steps she took. So welcome, my friend, Jenn Gore.
When Sarah Blakely emailed me, that was
epic.
I've never experienced something like that. So in my mind is going, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's not. Because I literally had written that down a week before.
That was going to happen? That she's going to reach out?
I'm doing this project right now called 300 Things. It's a Steve Harvey thing.
Okay.
And you write down 300 things that you want.
Sure.
And it was one of the things I wrote a week before.
Wow. And that fast.
It's here and now.
That is so crazy.
And then
gives you hope.
And then I'm also like, why am I calling this crazy? I wrote it down. It happened.
Now I'm saying crazy.
See?
That is so your reality now.
I have to remove.
Sure.
So I'm like, what else could I manifest?
Yeah, you can manifest anything you want. Look already what you have manifested.
I wanted to work with this coach that coaches Jason Hennessy.
Okay.
His name is Cameron Harold.
Okay.
He wrote this book, Vivid Vision. And he's taken people up over 100 million. He's called the CEO Whisperer.
Yes.
And I had this vision that I was going to work with him one day.
Right.
And I wrote that on my list. And Jason Hennessy texted me the other day. And he goes, this is so weird. Cameron Harold is texting me. I need to get in contact with Jenn Gore because I need to coach her. She's ready.
Oh, my gosh. So that's happening too.
Oh, it's like the things that are happening since I announced my divorce.
So much is coming.
Boom.
It's so crazy. Oh gosh, I'm not going to say the word.
You know what? It's so amazing.
It's so amazing how when one door closes,
30
and it's
open.
Yes, and it's like so hard to close that door. And then when
it was soul crushing to close that door.
Oh, it's for sure.
I literally drove myself crazy.
Yeah, this is appropriate crazy. Yeah.
I drove myself to drink.
Right.
I mean, I was just like doing things that were like numbing myself.
Right.
Just to like, I didn't want to shut that door because not for the relationship, for my kids.
Sure. Every mom struggles with that.
Yeah. You're like, I am going to choose to have less time with my child.
That's so hard. It's so hard to decide that. It really is.
My mindset coach really guided me through it. And he kept telling me, your kids are already going to be traumatized one way or the other.
Sure, if you stay and you're unhappy, that's traumatizing. If
in a different way.
Yes, that's when I came to the same realization.
Yeah, he's like, I hate to tell you, but it's already bad.
Yeah, yeah. And when they say it that way, or when you come to that fork in the road, you're like, oh, okay, the decision kind of has made itself. But once you make that decision, though, I feel like such a weight is lifted from your shoulders.
Well, I've never... like my instinct and my internal voice has never led me the wrong path.
I agree with that. And I think that it has taken me a long time to trust mine. I think culturally I was kind of taught to turn that voice off. So I always had the internal voice and I always wanted to do it a certain way. But then I had this like cultural pressure where it would be like, well, what are people going to say? Well, you don't want to upset so-and-so, or that's not what we thought you were going to do. And as I've come to learn, anytime I listened to those pressures is where I went wrong.
Absolutely.
And then when I listened to the internal voice, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's right.
It's all knowing, and it tells you things that are inconvenient sometimes.
It does. You're like, I don't want to hear that right now.
Like, really? Really? This is what you're going to tell me right now?
Right. It's like that movie, Inside Out.
Yes.
The feelings.
So, but I've learned to trust it, and I've learned to almost not hesitate. I think it's getting to the point where there's less hesitation and I can move faster in that voice. So like if I get a bad energy vibe about a certain person, I used to be like, well, why? They're a nice person. I don't know. Well, like, why am I judging them? I hear that voice about someone now, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Good for you.
I'm just like, that's a no.
Yeah.
And so it's like the trust of it being right. And I don't even need to know why.
Right. It doesn't matter. The because doesn't matter. Or
No.
why is it? Yeah, it does not matter. I feel the same. Like growing up, I kind of was always, oh, yeah, like I get along with everyone. And then I'm like, well, if you get along with everyone, you're really not true to yourself. So, like, becoming more comfortable with being like, no, I don't think I should be friends with them. Or I get a bad vibe when I'm around them. Or I don't like myself when I'm around
They
them. Because
bring out something that's not a
yeah.
high vibration.
Sure. Then I'm like, okay. And now I feel more comfortable just being like, all right, I'm not going to be apologetic for,
Unapologetic. That's the new
yes,
the world tour term. It's like, yeah,
2025.
somebody told me that, I think my friend Ryan was telling me, McKean, he was like, you're on your Reputation era tour, and I looked that up from Taylor Swift,
Sure.
and it's like when Taylor Swift became unapologetic and like
Yeah.
owned her brand, and it's
Yeah.
like I can get down with that.
Yeah. You're like, that's fitting me right
Yeah,
now.
I'm loving it.
I love that. I love that he knew even what that was.
I know. He obviously has kids.
But it's very descriptive. And like, I love that for you. I think that's amazing. And it's nice because you've essentially on paper checked all the boxes, right? You've gotten married, you've had children, they're getting older, and you've established your career and business and it keeps growing and growing. So it's like, yeah, do you now,
Yeah, I just turned 40
Oh,
like 30 days
congratulations.
ago, and thank you. I was like, I don't know, like as I was like leading up to that milestone birthday, maybe like 6 to 8 months ago, I was like kind of like, I don't know how I feel. I was kind of like sharing on social media, like, I feel like I might be having a midlife crisis. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
I was like not in like the greatest like frame of mind about it.
Right.
Obviously, I hadn't announced that I was going to be getting a divorce and made that decision finally at that time. So I was like just going through a lot.
Sure.
And then I made the decision, to change my life, to do brave things, to, speak my truth, to, move forward with getting a divorce. And turning 40 has been the most amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The month of August was one of probably the most amazing month of my life to this point. I did so many things. I went on so many trips. I went to Paris.
How was that? I loved it. I love that like your sister and you had like a
We
moment.
had a girls trip to Paris.
Yeah.
It was everything, like when you go on a trip and it's like everything you wanted it to be.
Yeah.
I like went to Chicago. I went saw like hung out with Maria. I
That's
had
so
like so many
nice.
birthday parties. I went and raced Porsches with my best friend in Atlanta. Like
Yeah.
it was, I was like, this is my life. Like literally,
Right.
I have the most amazing people in my life. I have the
Yep.
best friends. We work in the greatest industry.
Yeah.
We get to hang out with people that are thought leaders that are doing like incredible things. I
Right.
have the best mentors and coaches. Like, this is the
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like in 1 month. Yeah, you're right. Because I mean, obviously, I follow you on social media and I'm like, cool, it's her birthday. She's doing fun experiences. Like, you packed a lot. I always feel like celebrate your birthday the whole month.
I
And
did.
you're a Leo.
I
So I'm like,
did.
you really
Yes,
are celebrating the whole month.
I
And you
did.
did a ton. And
It was
it's
so good.
incredible.
And I felt joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's also like a sign that you're on the right path,
Sure.
is that you feel more joy.
Yep. You're right.
Like when we were kids, I felt joy a lot. As kids,
Right.
they're very joyful.
Sure.
I think sometimes as adult, like, I wasn't prioritizing my joy.
Right. You're prioritizing everyone else, all the other tasks. And then you kind of almost, because you're just moving and grooving so quickly, there's not a lot of like silent time to reflect. And you're like, is this really joyful what I'm doing? Am I joyful? Am I happy? Is this bringing me happiness?
Yeah, and another thing that I kind of like has been like coming to the surface for me is, I think sometimes when you're in an unhappy relationship, and again, my ex is not a bad person. I do not want to speak in a negative tone about him. This is just, it
Sure.
wasn't a match for,
Right.
us together. But what I've kind of gone through, going through this process of, a divorce, is like, if you're constantly just only wanting to work and not wanting to go on personal trips, there
Sure.
could be something to that.
Sure.
Like, I was finding all of my joy in only my work and my kids. Oh, I
Right.
went and got a dog. I got a puppy.
Oh, yeah, your dog.
That that my dog Jack, he's like boundless joy,
He's
right?
so cute.
Yeah, and like the feeling of like a puppy, and they're so energetic.
Yeah.
And like I was like, I need more joy in my life because
Sure.
it's like, you know, everything was so heavy.
Right.
And I found now, like, living in your truth. I think the thing that was weighing me down is when you know you need to make a decision and you're not making it.
True.
There's a lot of weight and
Yep.
like heaviness. I know you kind of went through the same
Yeah, for sure. I think even for, I don't know how long your, decision making process was, but mine was like for years.
years. Everyone I've ever talked to that's kind of
Years.
gone through this.
Yeah, I feel like people tend to put, I don't know, people are kind of looking from the outside in, tend to think that people who file for divorce just do it so
Wake up.
flippantly. And I'm like, but no, when you have kids, it's literally such a long decision that at least I went through.
And it's like this, it's like levels. And I don't know if this happened because I've been like sharing publicly for the benefit of like people understanding like life is not
That's
perfect,
amazing.
and like also trying to give other people permission to live free
Sure.
and like live their truth.
Right.
For me, it was like levels of decisions. So I'm curious if that was for you. It's like
Oh, yeah.
you get a like a little like
Yep.
maybe this isn't gonna, like, I think in the very
Yeah.
beginning it's like it's very small signs.
Yes, I remember it was like weights I had to take off of like my shoulders essentially. Am I okay with this? So like
Yeah, you're committing to like one thing.
at a time. So like obviously the biggest, fear for me was I'm not going to see my kids every day.
Driving fear.
I'm not going to have them every birthday. I'm not going to have them every Christmas. Like, can I live with that? Can
Can
I
you
live in this situation and tolerate what it is so I don't forego that time with them?
absolutely. And I think
You
there's
know?
hundreds of people that are listening right now that could be in that boat
Yep.
just hearing this.
Yep.
And it's like debilitating fear. And I'm not even like a scared type of person, but
Right.
when it comes to your kids as a mom, it hits in such a it's a tough nerve, you know, to hit. And then
Yeah.
there's so much societal guilt and shame around women and you know, divorce.
Yep.
And you know, if I did not have all the people I had around me,
Right.
you know, I probably would have remained stuck.
Yep.
And I know, like I used to say to myself, I have all the, like, everything going for me. Like I have
Sure.
money, access to resources.
Your degree, your
I'm
business.
smart. I've done
Yeah.
all these things. I'm accomplished. Like imagine for the woman that has nothing going for her
And
and has to make that decision. Like this,
yeah.
it's a hard one.
It really is a hard one. And sometimes, like, I'll see that or I'll hear that. People will reach out to me and be like, I really like admire,
Yeah.
that you're able to like make a decision like that for yourself, even for my community where, maybe it's still taboo to like get divorced and we are like a very family oriented community, but they're like, I didn't have the resources. Like I didn't speak the language here. I didn't have the schooling. I left my family back home,
It's
came to this
tough.
new country. Like I never would have been able to do that. So I'm so glad that you were able to. And I'm like, dang, like
No.
it was a hard decision for me to make, but like at least I had a decision to make. Some
Yeah.
people don't.
They feel powerless.
Sure.
And you know, I think whether your decision is you need to leave a job or leave a marriage, everyone, like what I've learned is like life is constant hard decisions. And like they're actually less painful if you don't drag them out.
I think you're right about that. I make these, okay, I'll do this to myself. I'll be like in a decision paralysis over something, and then I just do it.
And then you're like,
And then I'm like, I get such elation over myself where I'm like, oh my God, like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I give myself that feeling sooner?
I
Yeah.
had that feeling when I went to Paris. I had
Sure.
been wanting to go to Paris for 6 years,
Right.
5 years. I don't know. I mean, it was the pandemic and all that. And then I get there and I'm like, why did I wait this long to experience Paris?
Yeah.
Like,
It was
what
a
am I
ton.
doing? And now I'm thinking, like, I looked at that picture every day on my vision board for all this time. Like, I should have just, I think I saw something the other day that was like, don't wait for tomorrow for the things that like are really like at the top of your list right now because they're really exciting to you right now. At some point, they might not
Sure.
be as
Right.
It's like people that go travel. I saw a lot of people in Paris that were seeing Paris for the first time at 80 years old.
And they're just like probably not able to enjoy it, obviously, the way you and your sister did because you're young, you're
Exactly.
staying out. Like,
Yeah. So
yeah.
like when you have a desire for something or you feel compelled to do something, like I'm starting to like think like, am I getting this message now because I should do it now?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's like telling you, the universe is telling you, like, act on this now.
Yeah, I'm like, I toggle between, am I manifesting or am I being impulsive? Maybe
I
both.
feel like we probably are less impulsive. You know, like, I definitely don't, I think we think a lot, you know, as maybe female and law firm owners and all this. So, yeah, I think I'm not so impulsive. I need to maybe teeter that way
We'll
because,
bring you over to my side.
yeah,
It's just like sometimes you get this sense of knowing something at such a deep level that people will look at it and they'll go, this feels out of the blue, but I'm like, no, this feels right.
sure.
And I'm very like, I'm following it.
Yeah.
It's really a fun place to live, you
I
know?
love this for you. I
Yeah.
love this new era for you.
I know. It's like how it just keeps expanding.
Sure.
So, yeah,
Yeah. And
I'm
I
really
love that it's
happy.
happening for you, like, as you've hit a milestone birthday, too. It's kind of like just right.
It's like
Yeah.
I've like started the next chapters of my life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not hard days.
For sure.
I'm
For
not
sure.
saying there's not hard times, but I don't know if like I don't let myself like go and like I mean, I just went to Miraval.
Yeah.
So
How
I'm
was
like
that?
that was incredible.
Oh my gosh.
I know this is right here. This is
It's
like
here.
it's
You're
a
like, have you ever been? I'm like, no, it's literally my backyard. But
it's
talk about
life
that. Like, that was on your
changing.
bucket list.
Yeah, that was on my bucket list for 6 years. I actually found the original email
Wow.
that I sent to my friends in 2018 that we should go to Miraval because we had a business coach that had gone there and said it was life changing.
Wow.
So you go, one of the experiences is like, well, first of all, people think it's a spa. I mean, it is a spa. They have
Sure.
every treatment in the world, but you're going there to do like spiritual healing work.
Right.
So there's one experience where you go work with horses
Ooh.
and like these horses are like wild, like they're
Right.
in this corralled area, but you're walking in and they're not like tied up, right? They're just
Mm-hmm.
wandering around. And so you sit down and the person that manages the horses used to be a lawyer.
How
And
interesting.
she introduces herself that way. And she says, like the horse, you're sitting in that chair right there. The horse is literally walking over to you and it's like putting its head on you and like possibly like stepping on your foot.
Oh my gosh.
And she's watching. And at the time, you don't really, there's no directions really at this point.
Sure.
And she's like, do you not have boundaries? She's like, do you notice how this horse is like way too close? It's 1,000-pound animal. And like, you're not
Right.
like saying like this horse is too close.
Right. Backing up or anything or moving
Yeah,
out of the
like, hey,
way.
what can we do about this horse?
Yeah.
She's like, and so they're like analyzing your interactions with the horse.
Oh.
And then you have to be able to do different things with the horse. So they say, like, do you want to brush the horse? Do you want to lead the horse around? Do you want to try to get the horse to lift up its foot?
Oh wow.
And horses are very, like, energy driven animals and they
Sure.
read your energy. And if your energy is not right, the horse will not engage.
Right.
So, I'm up there with the horse and the horse, my first, again, I don't know what to do. Of
Right.
course, I don't ask. So like, where
Yeah.
does that
Figure
show
it
up
out.
in my life? Well, let's just throw.
Yeah.
So I don't ask. And then I'm like trying to pull the horse. And
Okay.
she's like, where does just brute force and like just making things happen with like, where does that show up in your life?
Wow.
And I'm like, and she's like, you're holding the rein very tight.
Sure.
She's like, well, and so she's like, you need to loosen it. And as I loosen it and I just basically became really relaxed and I connected with the horse, like you can like put your head on the horse.
Oh.
When you're in a relaxed state, the horse will do whatever.
And you don't have to give it that force.
Yeah. And I'm like, this reminds me of my executive team.
It's kind of like life.
This is
Yeah.
life. Yeah. But it's like we're taught to be like hanging on by the death grip.
Sure.
forcing things to happen, because I feel like
Right.
at some point when we were younger, like I had to like force things to happen.
Right. They won't just happen.
But now I feel like I'm not in that frame of mind anymore. I don't even know now, looking back, did I ever need to force it?
I wonder if you did. I wonder if we ever did. Yeah. I mean, I think we're kind of taught as women that go into the law. I mean, you want to try to control, you want to like
Control.
control your destiny, make it happen.
Make it happen. I
Yeah.
interpreted that wrong. Like
Yeah.
I thought that meant I had to like control.
Sure.
Now I'm realizing like it's about getting in a flow state, getting behind other people, working together with people, collaboration,
Sure.
control. It just feels very limiting.
Yeah. Yeah, that you might be missing out on something there. I wonder if I can apply that to my kids and my parenting.
I hired a parenting coach at one point.
Yes, I
I
recall. I
know.
might need to reach out to them. As I get busier and busier, I feel like I give my kids so much one on one attention. But then again, I feel guilt because it's like, well, my one on one attention with them is still not me having them 100% of the time.
Yeah, but like the emotion of guilt is such a toxic emotion. I did like a bunch of I really would say the greatest investment I ever did was that parenting coaching for me as a woman owner of a law firm, and I
Sure.
didn't originally think that would
Right.
been an effect,
Right.
that it would affect my law firm, but I don't really experience guilt anymore
That's
I
great.
don't really experience mom guilt, and I used to be
Right.
racked with mom guilt.
With it. Yeah.
Like almost debilitating. Like
Right.
I would feel like if I'm at the law firm, I should be with the kids. If I'm with the kids, I should be at the law firm. And I lived in this like hell
Of all the time.
where I lived like, and then I
Right.
was like, why am I doing this to myself? You're never present.
You're never present. You're never present. And they get the worst version. Everybody kind of then almost doesn't get the best version of you.
And so then it locks you in that cycle because you feel bad.
Yep.
So it's like a hamster wheel
Yep.
that you just stay on.
You never can get out of it.
I know. I have
Yeah.
notes and journals from that period of my life, and I was so unhappy. Like,
Oh.
and I, again, like, we're talking about joy.
Sure.
Like, if you guilt and shame yourself daily about you're never good enough, you're basically never good enough, right?
Yeah, it's in your fiber. It's like what you think about yourself,
Yeah.
and the power of manifestation and the power of your inner thoughts is so impactful. And if you're constantly allowing that to be a part of your like subconscious,
Yeah.
you're limiting yourself.
Yeah. So, how I healed it, I went to a lot of different workshops around this time. And I really do believe if you want to double or triple or 10 times your law firm, the number one thing you have to work on is your own mindset and your
Right.
own personal development.
Right.
Because you are the wild card of your law firm. You are the decision maker, your risk tolerance, everything goes
Sure.
down to you and
Right.
your ability to have a bigger vision.
Right.
So I go to this workshop and I said, okay, we're talking about criteria. What do I think it means to be a great mom? And I realized I had never taken an inventory on that question for myself.
Sure.
And I was living in the paradigm of what other people think is a good mom.
Right.
So, like, one of the old beliefs I had was, like, if you're a good mom, you make your kids' Halloween costume. Because that's what my mom did.
Right.
And I never felt compelled to do that. That's not my thing. Like,
Right.
I don't want to do that.
My kids would be a mummy with toilet paper.
Yeah.
Every year.
Or like, my mom like cooked and cleaned all day. And like somehow subconsciously I had associated that like you're a good mom if you cook and clean all day.
Sure.
Like these are very subconscious beliefs.
Right. They wouldn't even realize we have.
And then I was like, I hate cooking and cleaning.
Right.
I don't do either of those. I have like someone who cooks for me and I have a housekeeper.
Right.
And so why do you think you're feeling like all the time?
Right.
Is because there's a narrative in your mind that someone else constructed about what it means to be a good mom. It's really in our society where you hear people say like, oh,
Sure.
she's so selfless. She's a good mom. You know, like she's
Yes.
cooking and cleaning and waiting on hand and foot on everyone.
Right.
And then I was like, but I never came up with this. This is not what I think.
Right.
And so I wrote a list of all the things I would think, like, if I'm these things in my version, I'm a good mom. So one of them for me was to be an amazing, like, role model and to live my dream.
That's great.
Because I feel like I never really saw my mom live her dream. And I thought, if I could live my dream and, like, also have it be an experience that is not negative on my kids. Like, if I
Sure.
living my dream but I never see my kids, obviously
Right.
they would associate that to, like, not good.
Yeah, right.
But if I can live my dream and still be present in their lives and happy and joyful, I think that sends a very compelling message to my kids,
Sure.
right?
They can do the same. She's done it.
Permission.
Yeah.
So that's one of mine. Second off is I want to have a very intentional relationship with each one of them. And I want to, I went and hired that parenting coach to learn how to speak to them in a different way.
Okay.
So a lot of parents dictate at their kids.
Right.
So all you do is tell them what to do all the time.
Sure.
And so as a lawyer, the better way is to ask leading questions.
Right.
Lead the witness.
Yes, let them kind of fall into the decision and make them feel like they were the autonomous one that got to decide that.
It's like, wow. So this is a really simple example. And I had to change my language to do it. And it was so challenging in the beginning because, and even to this day, like, I'll catch myself falling out of it because it's so ingrained.
Right.
We're leaving. It's cold. And I used to say, put on your hat, put on your coat.
Yeah.
You're now in a resistant state with them. Now you're fighting with them. We
Yeah,
didn't even
it's
do
this.
anything. They're like, I don't want to put on my hat and coat.
Yeah.
So now it's like, hey guys, it's cold out. What do you think we should put on when
Right.
it's cold?
Right.
They're like, my coat?
They want to get the answer right. They want to make the decision. They want to feel
Be empowered.
over the decision.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh my God, you're a genius.
Should I put on my coat too? Now
Yeah.
they're controlling your
Yeah.
behavior. Yeah.
And like when I like they have to, make their beds and stuff in our house in the morning, and they have to get their own breakfast ready, and like I'm teaching them, we call it life skill training.
Sure.
And we've been doing it like 3 or 4 years, but sometimes like I have to like make fun of myself in a lot of ways. So like they don't like to make their beds, it's annoying.
Mine don't either.
But my whole life I didn't like to make my bed, and then I make my bed every day now. So I'm
Sure.
like, I know this is like going to work in the long run.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, what do you rate my bed making today? 1 out of 10.
Oh.
They're like, oh, it's like an 8.5, Mom. You could have done it a little,
You're like,
like-
I want you to beat me. I want you to get a 9. Do you think you could get a 9?
Yeah, like, what? How can I improve this?
And it works.
Yeah, so it's just like engaging them in a
Sure.
way that because the whole goal is to get them to think.
Right. And that's the thing too. I think that we want to raise like independent children who can think when they're out in the real world, and like
Absolutely.
when mom's not there anymore and grandparents aren't there and dad's not there anymore, what are they going to do? Are they going to know and have the life skills and the tools?
To figure things out.
Yeah.
Because the key to winning in life is being resourceful.
For sure. You might not have all the answers, but you could find them.
We can figure it out.
Yep. And you do that with them. Like you give them their own debit cards.
They have
and,
their
like,
own debit cards.
I love that.
And like the key is just staying in that. The hardest part about it has been if you become impatient, this process takes longer.
For sure.
Like if I'm just like, put on your hat, we're leaving, that's different than we have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's like forces you to kind of like be more patient.
Okay.
And let them think through the process, because I can give them the answer in 2 seconds.
Right.
Also, we've got to create environments where kids can mess up and like make mistakes. So like the first time my 4-year-old puts away the silverware, do you think he does it perfectly?
No, he's going to mix up the spoons maybe with the forks and whatnot, and that's all right.
And I was like super OCD, and
Yeah.
I was like, I could put this away quicker and it
Yeah.
would be faster. But then you never buy any freedom for yourself as a woman.
Sure, ever.
You're doing everything for everyone.
Yeah,
Nobody's independent, so nobody has life skills.
right.
So I started to realize like an overly caretaking mother is actually robbing her child of life skills.
I believe that because like culturally I felt like my mom never wanted us to like cook with her.
because
because it
that's
was
her
like,
special, unique value.
yeah, you're going to make a mess. You're not going to do it correctly how I want it done. And so then it was like, well, we're just
We're
hands off
out.
now.
That's exactly
So,
my
yeah.
exact. Well, I never learned to cook basically
Mm-hmm.
because my mom was always like controlling it.
Yeah.
And that was like, I'm out,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
don't want to have to go through this like battle.
Or like, I remember when I moved back home between college and law school, I moved back home for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already lived on my own. I was like 22. I moved out when I was 17.
Well,
I go back home and my mom's like, you can't touch the washer.
oh,
The
no.
washer is very particular. Only I'm like, I am 22 years old. I've been
Yeah.
doing my laundry on my own for 4 years.
Yeah. You're like, how am I going to live?
She's like, I'll handle it for you. I'm like, this is disempowering behavior,
Sure.
you
You're
know?
like, we'll not be here very long.
Well, it seems
Yeah.
nice. Oh, someone's going to do your laundry for you. And maybe there
But
is an element of maybe it's coming from like a good place at some level,
sure.
but we've got to let people, you know,
Right.
earn their way in this world.
That's right. Because like if you need like a certain outfit at a certain time, now you're relying on her.
Now there's going to be a friction point.
And there's going to be a friction point. I needed the outfit for whatever
Yeah.
and it wasn't washed.
Well, I didn't have time to do your laundry today.
Sure.
So, there's so many things. This stuff goes so deep and
Yeah.
I am still trying to become better at my parenting because each age presents like new life skill challenges.
For sure. You just figured it out and then they get a little bit more mature and you're like, wow, we're shifting again.
Yeah. And, the other thing, one of my goals is that my kids don't have sibling rivalry
I love that.
because
I love that.
I think that sibling rivalry really boils down to the environment and the parents.
I think that's right.
It can't exist unless the parents create it.
Yep. Yep. And there's something within the kids when the parents do create it. Either they want the kid to be more this, or maybe they approve of the child that's reminding them of them. Like it's just so internal.
Favoritism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the work I do with them is like, I'm always telling them, like, your brother is your best friend.
Yeah.
He will be here beyond me.
I say the
This
same.
is your person.
Right.
And it gives me even goosebumps thinking about it because if there's one thing I could leave them when I'm gone is each other. And I would never want to create like, why can't you be more like your brother? Because that immediately associates my brother makes me feel not enough.
Right. And then that's going to create tension.
Yeah, so it's just conversations. It's like if they have like beef or whatever they have, it's like, listen, I understand that you're not liking him right now,
Right.
but this is your brother.
And it's temporary.
This is your person. You got to work it out.
Yep.
Like, how are we going to work this out? And, like maintaining, being like the vessel that constantly encourages them to maintain their loving relationship with each other.
Sure.
I see people messing this up so bad. Like,
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah. I think that that's what happens is maybe like when a parent wants a child to be a certain way, they think that by doing the comparison that the child's going to have the epiphany, oh yeah, I should be more like whatever.
They
and
can't.
it creates the tension and the distance.
And what I'll say instead is I'll be like, you're so amazing at this. And your brother is so amazing at this. And you guys have different superpowers.
Oh, that's great.
And everybody in life is born with a certain gift. And my job as your parent is to help you figure out what your gift is.
Yes.
So like when you talk to people in that way, it's not a zero-sum game.
Sure. They're getting confident in what their abilities are and their skills are. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to just do that and capitalize on that instead of it being like, well, you're not like so-and-so.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be like
Yeah,
so
we're all
and so.
different. And usually siblings are never the same. Like you have,
Radically different.
yeah, even as babies, I feel like my children were so different.
Yeah.
And
because they're
it's
teaching us different lessons.
very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I haven't thought about it that way, but you're right.
All of our children teach us lessons. That's why I think like the path of parenthood is like one of the if you want to grow, have a child.
Right. Right. Because you're going to learn so many things about yourself. You're
all
gonna
your triggers.
Yes. Yeah, I was talking to my sister about that yesterday. She was like, so something happened and I got really triggered. And I'm like, yeah, like when mine does that too, I get really triggered too. She's like, maybe we need to go talk to someone.
I
Let's go
know.
figure that out together.
Because sometimes they're a mirror of
Mm-hmm.
everything that you need to like still work on.
Yeah, and it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
And you want
Oh
to turn
yeah.
that mirror around,
I know. I
put it
know.
down. But like, yeah, it's something to work on. So,
Yeah, so I mean, like even though like everything with the divorce and everything, I think, a lot of people are not even they might be still married, but they're not thinking about these things with their kids.
sure.
So, it's
Yeah,
like,
I
you
know.
know,
So you're already ahead of the game
I
because you're
feel
conscious
the
of it.
fact that I even care to
Yes,
try to approach parenting in this way,
is so
you know,
great.
it is what it is. Also, really excitingly, when I started going through some hard times, it was the first time my kids ever saw me, I think, like really struggle.
Oh,
Because, it's
okay.
like
Yeah,
win, 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 win.
yeah.
They just see me on billboards. They just see, oh, it's all wins.
Sure. Mom's a badass.
Correct. And
Right.
it's really important to show your kids, how I told them, I said, you remember I told you we do hard things? I
Yeah.
was like, this is me doing hard things.
Oh,
So, like, if we overprotect our kids from the realities of our own lives
mm-hmm.
and we don't share, like, okay, I'm going through a hard time. This is painful. It's uncomfortable,
Right.
but I can do it.
Yeah, I'll get through it.
Trust.
It's temporary. The feeling is temporary.
It is so temporary. The way I
Yeah.
felt energetically, like, I don't know if this is you,
Right.
like, in the first few days and weeks following a really big life change like that, I feel almost, in a totally different frame of mind 30 days later.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that incredible? Like how quickly
It
you can
changes.
shift out of that. I think it's important to showcase that to kids because kids tend to think something's like forever.
Forever.
Time, it's so long. When's later coming? All of this. So if you can show them that it's okay to feel certain emotions, they don't have to feel happy all the time. Life's not always on the up all the time. If it's on the down or you're sad, that's temporary. You just kind of have to push through and things will turn around.
It's such an important life lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, like, I see a lot of parents doing, and I'm sure I've done versions of it, is like when you as a parent aren't living your dream life,
Mm-hmm.
and we all have different dreams. I mean, they're not
Sure.
all huge, but what would be your dream life? What you want to do?
Right.
You tend to inject that onto your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then now your kids have to live your dream.
Right. Yes, I believe that. And I got the first taste of that when I signed up my son for competitive flag football. I was astounded at how many parents were there that were
Totally out of
putting,
line.
oh my God, they're putting their, like,
Dream.
failed football career, if you want to
Yes.
say, onto these kids. And the pressure was so high.
You know why? It's actually totally inappropriate. Like, I have a hard time going to
Mm-hmm.
my kids' events because of this.
Right.
There was a dad at my daughter's basketball game that was heckling his daughter from the crowd. She's 10 years old.
Oh.
And he was saying, are you even going to play today?
And she's playing. She's like, I'm playing.
And
Like,
I started like looking at him and glaring at him.
yeah.
And I started like, I'm going to shout louder than him.
Right.
And I'm not even like, I never do that. I'm not there to do that. I'm like, progress over perfection, ladies. Don't listen to the haters.
Yeah, I love that
I'm
you say
like,
that.
this, and then they
Jumped
have to
in.
have signs with the rules for these kids' events.
Yeah, we did have like some parents that got into like a rift. It was like the coach versus one of the other dads. The
What are
kid,
you teaching these kids?
yeah, the kids were like astounded. They're like, yeah, there was like some swear words thrown around. This was not good.
If the kid, like, I feel like it's our job to expose them to different activities and see what resonates with them and,
Sure.
try something for a period of time and commit to it. Like, you
Right.
got to see it through. And then if you don't feel compelled to it, let's try something else until we find the thing. Like, my daughter
Right.
went through a ton of things she didn't like.
Sure.
Now she's doing volleyball and basketball.
That's great.
And when it's more driven by them,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to push so hard.
Sure. Yeah, my son really liked the thought of being in competitive flag football, competitive for his age. And then he did it And they got runner up like in the playoffs, and the whole team was crying. And I don't think he really was really realizing what was going on, because for him, he was like, that's still a win. We're second place. That's great. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because it just was like
It
he
had a bad
experienced it,
energy.
he didn't like it, and it was over.
Yeah, and like I think the things we're meant to do, we really feel like attracted to them.
Sure. Sure. You
Like
always hear that.
yeah, so I just think it's like let's try different things. And I don't have this like personal I need them to do this because
Right.
I'm living my own dream.
Sure.
And you know when you're living your dream, you don't want anyone to like compel their agenda
Right.
on you.
Right. I agree with that. I have my daughter, and like she'll observe me working or talking to adjusters or whoever I'm on the phone with in the car. And she says, I want to be a lawyer like
I know.
you when I get older. And I'm like, I'm so a little bit
You know
not
what?
sure how to take that, because I want to make sure that there's nothing that I'm doing that's like forcing her into that decision.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I'm very like light, and I try to kind of follow it up with, well, whatever you want to be.
I literally handle it the same way.
Okay.
I'm like, well, it's your life and like our job is to like work together and figure out if this is your purpose or maybe it's something else.
Sure.
I never put it like you have to be a lawyer.
Right.
And like she said to me one time because she's 11 now, she was like, if I don't become a lawyer, because she was saying the same things, like
Right.
I'm gonna be a lawyer like my mom, because they see us as
Yeah.
like a hero, right?
Right.
And so she said, if I'm not a lawyer, will I let you down? And I said, absolutely
Oh,
not. I
right.
was like, I was like, you have to follow your passion and purpose.
Sure.
And so I think like not putting any pressure on it.
I think that's right.
And they do kind of absorb things just because they're in our environment.
Sure. And they
But
see it.
who knows what it will lead to? I
Right.
have no attachment to her being a lawyer or not.
Right.
I want her to do what's right for her.
Exactly. That
That's it.
she'll be happy in.
Yeah.
I feel like Gary Vee talks so much about that. I know you follow him and you like repost his stuff too, just like I do. He talks a lot about that. He's like, it's so much better for you not to get along with your parents for like 5 to 7 years where you're like battling it, than to just live under their
Oh,
expectations and then you
horrible.
hate them for decades.
For life.
Yeah, for life.
Yeah. Parenting really should require like a course.
Oh my gosh, for sure. I know. I know we had like home ec and it taught us how to sew, which I never took that class, by the way.
I don't remember that. That definitely wasn't one of my favorite subjects.
Sure, it was an elective, but
I
for
know.
whatever reason, I never got into that.
Good.
I was like, I'm going to do Spanish
There
and
you
other
go.
things, but I feel like we need these types of courses, like
Yeah.
how to be a parent, how to manage money.
I do find a lot of parallels between like leading people in the law firm and leading my kids. Like leadership,
Interesting.
influence, the ability
Sure.
to see like something like a diamond in somebody. Like Alexa from my team was on stage with me
Yeah.
today at PimCon.
Yep.
Like seeing her develop and like seeing my kids develop, it's just there are parallels to leading large groups of people and raising
Sure.
kids. And
Sure.
it's not to say that like I don't want to be disrespectful to like leading people isn't they're not children,
Right.
but it's the similar idea of like trying to find the best in people
Right.
and to like help people step into their own power.
Have them see what you see in them. I feel like
Yes.
oftentimes people don't see like what we see in them.
Hmm.
And we're like, you're so much better. Like, you can do this amazingly. And that's probably like what you give them, that spark.
Yeah, and I mean, I started off and I was not at the highest levels of leadership. Like I've like been working and working and working to get better. I mean, I think
Sure.
to become the owner of a $10 million law firm, you have to become the owner. You have to be
Right.
that level of leader, you
Sure.
know?
Sure. You're not just that way walking into it. You have to develop yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely. Who are some of your mentors? Because you have to have great mentors around you for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I've had Arjon Robbins was one of my first he was one of my first coaches in
Mm-hmm.
Miami from How to Manage a Small Law Firm. Kristen David, was working there at the time. She is an amazing coach. She helped me build a lot of systems.
Wow.
Arjon exposed me to a lot of mindset work, a lot of sales work, you know, just basic stuff in a business that I was like, this is great. If I can
Yeah.
learn this, we can close more leads. And
Sure.
Then I got through Arjon, I met David Nagel, who he's a mindset coach out of North Carolina. And I remember that's really where I went on my mindset journey.
Wow.
And then I met Mike Morse and I joined
Yeah.
Fireproof before it was really even like a
Thing.
thing. It was
Yeah.
right when the book came out during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And he's changed my life tenfold. He's such a brilliant law firm. You know, they're mentoring my entire leadership team.
I love that.
And then through Mike, I met all these people in these masterminds all around the country. So
Sure.
started going to all these masterminds, which is like a group of 12 to 15 lawyers that get together in a hotel and basically share what are they doing that's cutting edge right now
Right.
for the last 90 days, 6 months. And then I started honestly meeting every large player in PI from every state.
Right.
And usually I was like one of two women,
Right.
maybe the only woman. There's a funny
Sure.
picture of me in Mike's boardroom at Fireproof. It was 45 people that came to Fireproof. I was the only female owner.
Amazing. What year was that?
This past year.
Oh my goodness.
And I think there was 2 people that were in it that were women, but they just didn't come to the summit.
Sure.
And that's another thing I say. A lot of times there could be other women in the space, but they don't show up as much.
Yeah, I wonder why. Like maybe out of fear or.
I think it's the family obligations,
Sure.
the feeling like I'm doing so many things, juggling. You know, I this is like one of my greatest hacks. 90% of life is just showing up.
You're right. You're right about that. And then you can put the other 10% in and you've got it. Yeah.
The crowd is already narrowed down when we get to the showing up people because
Yeah.
there's
You
only
showed up.
Yeah, I show up. I remember thinking like there's hard things I could do and this is like an easy one. Just show up.
Just show up. Yeah. And then just be you and then it's done, you know?
The right things will come to you when you get in the right state.
Right.
And those masterminds, I met people that changed the course of my law firm. They exposed me to ideas that were so disruptive, so outside the box. I met people that, like, I just could get emotional just thinking about it. Like, if I didn't meet them, like, my journey would have been different.
Sure.
And then I started, like, studying and, like, seeing, like, okay, now I'm hanging out with people that own $100 million law firms.
Right.
How are they different than me?
Right.
What are they thinking about?
Right.
Because, you know, your circle predicts your income,
Exactly.
you know?
If you want to be in that circle, hang out in that circle. If you want to have what they have, hang out with those people.
And I remember, like, immediately when I started showing up to these places, I felt right at home.
Really? Okay, good.
Like, I like hanging out with these people.
Yeah.
I like their problems.
I like their energy.
I like their energy. I like their ambition.
Yep.
They make me think bigger, which, you know, I don't know if this happens for you, but like
Yes.
in my daily, like living in Atlanta life, like I don't meet people like you.
Right. We don't interact with people.
They're just harder
on
to
a daily-
find.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying like people that own law firms that geek out over personal injury,
Like we are at this conference. Yeah.
that obsess over like their vision and their dream, like that's a niche person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't just find them on the streets
Yeah.
of
At
Atlanta.
the grocery store.
So when I get with these people and I'm like, we like the same things and we're like obsessive about the same, it's like an energy force.
Sure.
And I'm like, you want to talk about policy limits for like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
You want to talk about like your intake team?
Right.
What?
Yeah. You're like, let's be best friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure.
Every industry has conferences where you can meet people that are your tribe.
Right. I feel like whenever I go to any of these conferences, I can't sleep at night.
Because you're so amped.
I'm so amped. All of these like visuals are coming through my mind. All these
Yes.
ideas are coming through my mind. And I'm like, well, I'm just not going to sleep for 3 days or 4 days. It's fine.
I get like more energy when I go in these environments.
Sure.
Like some people feel drained from conferences.
Right.
I feel like amplified.
And energized.
Well, I feel like I'm very intellectual and like I like when I meet people that make me think outside the box.
Sure.
That's like hard to find for like,
Right.
you know?
Right. probably most rooms that you walk in, you are the intellectual. So
Yes.
then for you to be able to go somewhere where you feel challenged, you're like, ooh, I
It's
like
so
this.
fun.
More.
I'm getting excited just talking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so um it's been like just so fun getting and then meeting all these mentors. And then I met Chad Dudley, from Dudley DeBosier.
Right.
He's so brilliant. He's, taught me a lot of things about how he looks at case values and operations. And, he has like a media company and
Sure.
a law firm and coaching.
Right. All of it. Yeah. And you have your coaching that you started.
Yeah.
You're debuting it now for the
I know we
first
had a booth
time.
here.
I saw it. It was
It was so
beautiful.
exciting.
And I love the branding. It's just so on brand for you.
Yeah, and we've been coaching people for 18 months and it happened very word of mouth organic, and I'm kind of like glad we did it that way because we got to like kind of test and see what do people. I
Sure.
literally had a vision. I want to coach people. I've been getting coached for 10 years.
Right.
People are asking me to coach them.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't even know what they need coaching on.
Right.
It's like your brain disassociates from yourself.
How do you decide, like, per person asking to be coached, like how to
What we're going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do for them?
Well, I started realizing that I was basically coaching people for free.
Okay, you're like, I should get paid for this. Yeah.
Well, I would go.
It's your time.
I went to this seminar where they were like, "What would you do for free?"
Okay.
For free, if money is no object. You've made billions of dollars. You're the
Right.
wealthiest woman in the world.
Right.
You've got time? How do you want to spend it?
Right.
What do you want to do?
Me?
Yeah, like that's
Oh,
the
okay.
posed question.
Okay. I mean, I want to help people. I feel like I still want to help people.
Coaching and lawyering is very in the similar vein because we're professionally solving problems.
Sure.
I think the lawyering is a little more like we have to do some of the work for them, where in the coaching,
Right.
it's like helping them solve it themselves.
Right. Guiding them.
And then, so I was like, well, my favorite thing to do is like sit with my friends like we're doing right now and just talk about like business and life and,
Right.
this is solving problems. And I'm like, okay, well, so like everyone would be like, Jen, don't mastermind this person. They're not ready.
We see where you're going with it.
Yeah. So, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's just, whatever problem they bring, let's just workshop it.
Sure.
And let's just talk about it. And my goal is always to like, with everybody that I meet, like create more value than they, are expecting. Right.
Right.
So like always give to other people and like that always comes back. Right.
Sure.
And so like whether you leave someone in like with a motivational idea or you're raising someone's frequency.
Right.
And I think in coaching, that's like really the work that we're doing. It's like seeing someone who feels defeated about an issue they're struggling in their business and then having them come off that call and like be like, I could do this.
I can solve it now. You've equipped me with the tools that I need to go make this happen.
Well, because we're having a lot of fun, but this is hard work. Like what?
Of course.
To get to where you are, to get to where I am, there's been some blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, a lot.
Right?
A lot.
Wouldn't you say, like, I don't want to over glamorize. There is,
like,
days where I wanted to literally crawl under my desk.
Sure.
When a key person quit.
Yep.
Or
a result maybe that you were.
Somebody screwed up a settlement statement and like we lost $5,000 just like.
Right. With one tap of a button. Yeah.
Or like, costs were not properly documented in the file.
So you lost out on that.
You don't get to recoup that.
Right.
Like somebody in the law firm talking negatively about you as the owner.
Sure.
That was, heart-wrenching when the first time that ever happened.
Right.
Being a law firm owner is not for the faint of heart. Like
it's not.
I got to this frame of mind because of all of the
all the hardships
the
that you
bad
have to overcome. I think that, and I
know if I want to say bad things, they were challenges. They
were challenges. They were things that like popped up that on your radar that you're like, oh, that's not really what I wanted to have happen today. That wasn't on my bingo card today.
Super inconvenient.
Super inconvenient. You have to find a way to overcome it.
I've started like taking pictures of myself over the years because I feel like I can't share about some of these things. Like when you have to
Sure.
fire someone, it's not something you can like get on social media and like talk about.
Right.
But I've taken pictures of like myself privately and like how upset I've been.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, one day I'm gonna share because like I think people don't we just don't talk about it as much of like how hard it is to sometimes make personnel decisions.
Right. It's one of the harder parts of it. And I think that it's a lot, at least with me, like in growing my law firm, it's something that maybe like makes me not want to take some leaps because it's like, it's hard. It's hard to find the right people. It's hard to retain the right people. It's hard to keep that culture alive and that message not watered down the bigger you grow.
So I'm like in this process of shifting my belief that it's all easy.
I love that.
It's actually easy to just find great people. I write sticky notes all over my mirror.
I saw that on
And
your
like
social media.
I find great people everywhere.
Right. They're
Because that's my belief. It's got to be hard. Like with the horse. I'm like I
sure.
got to muscle it. It's got to be hard. I'm going to have
Right.
to recruit till midnight every night. Like in my mind I've made it hard. So
Right.
now it is hard.
Right. And then you put that energy out and then you're not going to attract the right
Yeah, because
candidates.
they're like, "Ooh, this sounds hard."
She seems rigid.
Yeah.
She seems
But
tough.
I'm like, okay, the truth is there's someone amazing looking for this exact opportunity right now,
Right.
and you're just not loud enough.
Right. And you've been able to attract like an amazing team.
Yeah, I honestly, I had someone that is working with our firm come visit our firm and like be in our building, and we have a lot of people overseas and virtual, but we do have a
Sure.
core team that's in the office on a rotational, not every 5 days, not 5 days a week, but there.
Right.
And I was like, we have a lot of fun at work. Like if you create the right
Mm-hmm.
team, the right people, you get the
Mm-hmm.
right people on the bus,
Right. It's going to be
all
fun.
that was worth it.
Right.
It
Right.
was all
People
worth it.
people want to come to work.
It gets an energy of its own.
Yep.
And then those people attract more people like them.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I get to come to work and hang out with Alexa and Tracy and Julia
Right.
and all the people that we have. And like, I get to do this. It's not
Yeah.
like I have to go to work.
Yeah, you wake up and you're happy to go to work. It's not like I have to. It's like I get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
I
such an
mean,
amazing feeling.
it's worth it, but it's like all the weeding we had to do
Sure.
to prune that to get it to where it is.
Right.
It'll, it'll, there'll be challenging days,
Right.
you know?
It's not easy. I think people see that. I think like with social media, people will see that 1% sliver. And I mean, you offer so much more than that. You do show vulnerable sides of yourself.
The employing people is such a hard one because you don't want
It is.
to breach people's privacy if, if they're terminated. You can't say that stuff publicly,
Right. Right. Yeah, but people just think, oh, look, she's
She's never had a
speaking.
problem finding anyone.
Everything just looks so great. She's just doing it all. And it's like there's growing pains with anything.
Every day there's challenges in the law firm.
Right.
Like
Every single day.
But you have to almost accustom yourself to like, this is what I signed up for.
Yep.
And this is what I'm good at. I'm good at solving problems.
Right.
And every problem I solve, my problems get upgraded.
Yeah. That's right. The problems in my first year are
Were-
quite different
right?
than the ones now. Yeah.
Which ones do you rather have?
Yeah. I mean, I would rather have these even though they're harder. It's like when you think back at those original problems, you're like, wow, they were so small and but they still like were so like earth-shattering at the time, and it's just like, okay, did I become a better problem solver or is it just like bigger firm, bigger problems? I mean, maybe a combination of all of it.
I think for me, it's like, I think I make decisions faster now.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I make 100 decisions in a month, my old self made like 5.
Mm-hmm.
And they were life shattering because one of those, if one of them doesn't work, it's 20% of the,
Sure.
but if I do 100, you're just going to outpace anyone making 5 because you might make a bunch of mistakes, but you're also making like 10 times the traction.
You have better. It's like taking practice tests.
Yes.
You
Yes.
get better and better and better as you go along and you keep taking them.
And I just try to think about like what is the catastrophic mistakes I don't want to make.
Sure.
Like we don't want to miss statutes.
Right. That's the biggest.
But there's so few that are catastrophic, but our
Right.
mind makes us think they're all catastrophic.
I know. I don't know why we think that. And actually, I've spoken to attorneys before who are like, yeah, I ran a statute. And I'm like,
I know. I'm like,
what did you do? They're like, I just called my carrier. I'm like, okay.
yeah,
You
like
know?
it wasn't even at the level you thought it was.
They're like, that's why we have malpractice insurance. Like, God forbid, we just.
My reaction is the same as yours.
Yeah, I just was like, oh my goodness, you know. But the way they just kind of, and again, they've been doing it forever, and for them, they're like, things happen sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the perfectionism.
Sure.
We want to do everything right.
We want to do everything right and perfect, and sometimes it's just really hard.
That's another thing that came up for me with the horse. I can't believe I forgot that. I blocked it out probably.
Okay.
I was up there. There was like 6 people watching, or maybe 5. And suddenly I felt like I have to perform. I have to get this horse to like do what it needs to do.
The competitive nature.
Competitive but performative.
Yeah.
And she was like this, where's this showing up? You know, like you're not even in your flow. You're not even connected to the horse. You're not present. You're like, I'm like, have to perform, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So was that all very insightful? Did she give you kind of like a blow by blow at the end of like different things?
And, you know, you can just feel it energetically when you're in a state where you're connected with an animal like that.
Right.
You know?
That's so cool that you did that for yourself.
So
I love
fun.
that. I feel like the more things that you can do, like you said, with mindset and coaching and just kind of changing around your belief system, like it just empowers you and allows you to show up so much better in all the other areas of your life.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that.
It's been fun times.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the journey that you have ahead. Do you have any like big things coming up for you personally or professionally that you're really super looking forward to?
We're doing some really exciting things with AI in law firms.
Awesome.
Which I think everyone needs to have their ear to the ground on that.
Yep.
We are going to be going to about 6 conferences in the next 6 weeks.
Wow.
Our booth is going to be now going, you know, or all of that is kind of unfolding. We're doing a business plan workshop in December. We don't have the full dates yet, but that's going to be for the people we're coaching. They have to basically present their business plan for 2025, like Shark Tank style. Ooh. And we're going to kind of like, you know, find the holes.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's going to be really fun. Right. That's something I wanted to do for a while. And we're going to the Inc. 5000 for the 3rd year. I know Ryan Reynolds is the speaker.
That's amazing. I know. Congratulations on that. Fun. That is awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm going to Tony Robbins in November. I've never been to his Unleash the Power Within event.
Wow.
And it's like a 4-day event, and it's like the Tony Robbins event. So I've never been to that. I feel like that's going to be amazing.
Oh, that's going to be so incredible.
So yeah, just a lot of fun things coming. Like how can every month be fun?
Yeah, it sounds like you're there as everyone's kind of winding down. I feel like in 2024, you're like, I'm just getting started.
Listen, my first half of 2024 was rough.
Sure.
I'm making up on the back end.
Yep.
We're going to take this year out with a
bang and go into 2025 just ready to roll.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
There's always something to look forward to.
Sure. And I feel like that's what makes life worth living. When you like set these, you know, conferences up or travel or whatever little milestones you want to meet and things to look forward to, that's what makes it so worthwhile.
Hope.
Yeah. Hope. That's right. Mm-hmm. We don't maybe think of it like that when we're planning these, but it gives you hope that something's on the horizon, something new.
Yeah.
Take you out of your shell, meet new people.
And I just encourage people, like, when they go to conferences, there's an art to going to conferences. There's an art to going to events.
Right.
Be open.
Right.
Be somebody who is asking other people questions. Right. Be curious.
Sure.
And, like, people always want to talk about themselves,
Yeah.
especially if you ask them questions.
Yeah. They're like, oh, let me tell you how I did this. You know, they're proud to share.
Yeah, be curious about people and like watch and observe who is like what I would say like an influencer or like a key person,
Right.
and observe like who they interact with, who they admire,
Right.
and put together the breadcrumbs, like connect the dots,
Okay.
because you can do that. You can see it happening in real time.
Right.
And then align yourself with people that like believe, like have similar values and like things that you like, and
Sure.
magic can happen.
Right. You can just hit it off and just have like,
A best friend. My
yeah.
best friend literally bought me this bracelet.
Oh, that's
Like,
amazing.
we wouldn't have never met in this
Except for this world, except for these conferences, except for this,
little world we
yeah,
live
that
in.
you go to all the meetings and you met her. And that's
Yeah.
so sweet. That's really, really nice. And it's
Yes.
great that you can meet. It's so hard to make friends later in life.
I
And
do think
so
that is
it's a
like a
blessing.
challenge, and you tend to only have the friends
Right.
of your kids'
Sure.
parents.
Right.
And
right.
some of those are cool,
Right.
but it's good to meet your own friends in your own,
Right.
like, that are not just parent friends.
Yeah.
You
People
know,
that like the same things
Yeah.
as you do, that you guys can talk on the same levels of. And
your same flavor of weird.
yeah, I love that. That is awesome. It is great that you're able to meet a friend late in life and
Yeah.
later in life. And I don't want to say late in life. Can we cut that part out?
In your,
Yeah.
in
It's
your middle of
great.
your life.
It's great to meet a friend in the middle of your life, a new friend that like just, you know, brings so much joy to you, and you have like the same interests and all
Yes.
that.
I mean, also, we literally are helping people
Right.
as lawyers. We're educating people with knowledge. We're helping people get more money.
Right.
We're getting to hang out in 5-star hotels and learn.
Right.
Like,
In beautiful cities.
we have to be grateful.
Yeah, we really
You know?
do have to be grateful every single day waking up. Like just all the gratitude for like all the progress that we've made and all of the opportunities we get and all the people we get to meet. It is just really incredible. That's awesome.
Thank you so much for inviting me on here. I
Yeah.
feel like now I got to know you more.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love everything that you're doing. You're such a force to be reckoned with. Like
Aw.
I always think of like when I think of somebody in the personal injury space that represents women doing it, you're it.
That's so
Because
sweet.
you're the mom, you know, you're the founder, you're just scaling, and it's so incredible and so awesome to watch. So
It's really means a lot when you say that. Like I know there's people that, you know, I have looked up to, and like they've
Right.
changed my life, and to have the opportunity to like do that for someone else or like inspire someone, it's
Yep.
very like, is this my real life?
yeah,
You know?
no, it is. You're doing it.
I know,
You're
it's
doing
fun.
it.
It's fun.
So yeah, thank you for being so inspirational.
Well, thank you for sharing. I want to hear more and more of your journey, because I feel like you're just at the precipice and you're about to like take off.
Thank you for tuning in to Talk Legal to Me. Remember, you can listen to us everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify and Apple. And if you want to watch along, visit my YouTube channel at Lawyer Gordi. Until next time, stay informed, stay legal, and stay fabulous, besties.